Welcome to the Off the Road Again podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Ross.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Kevin.
My favorite thing about that is there was no hesitation on which one of you was going first.
Well, it's in the script, man. It says it right there.
It's true.
And,
not everybody's reading the show notes. Normally, there's just me and Ross in the show notes.
We try our best.
This is our podcast about anything and everything off-road. I think in the last couple of weeks, we really have gone the gamut of all of off-road. Like, we got most extreme off-road because we had Tanner Faust on and he's in a plane. So that's like the most extreme off-road possible, right?
Sure.
So as always, we're still socially distant. I'm in the Midwest, Ross is in the Northeast, and then Zach and Kevin are both in Tennessee. You guys are like our closest guests combined.
Yeah, we Kevin and I make out all the time, so not super socially distant, but it's fine.
Wife approved.
We work together.
Yeah. Wife approved. Delta variant 4.
That's right.
You guys are going to keep us in lockdown even longer.
You heard it here first.
We're doing our best.
I'll keep this out of the news tomorrow.
Speaking of the news.
Bronco
embargo lifted. Yay.
We didn't learn anything.
We didn't learn anything. Yeah.
That was of the ones I like read or saw. Camille's response to it was like, I ordered one and I know less now than I did when I placed my order.
Yeah. Ford made a turbocharged Wrangler with IFS.
Yep.
Extrapolate from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you guys excited about this thing at all? Am I weird for not being stoked about this? It's not that I'm not stoked. It's just that like I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. We've got the Bronco Sport this week, so like maybe this is tainting my tea, but it feels derivative, and not just because it's the Bronco Sport, right? Like they're doing all the same stuff that Jeep's been doing with the Wrangler for the past 15 years, where they're like, here's a little silhouette of a Bronco driving around on your back glass, and like I'm like, dudes, like you can do other things. I promise you can. I don't know.
It's almost like it's a quick cash grab.
Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah, not for the people who ordered it.
Pre-pandemic, quick. It was a quick cash grab, right? Like no one saw that year coming. Even though I know Ford employs a lady whose title is futurologist. Yeah.
Is that like being a meteorologist where you can be completely wrong? And
yeah,
it
you have
matter?
to 5% of the time you're right and you keep your job.
Right.
Fairly certain if she's wrong, she gets removed.
Ooh,
well,
spicy.
Okay, so
development cost is what it is. Like it's if you waste millions of dollars on something.
Did she? So the news that came out this week was that people who ordered like the painted hardtops, those have been pushed out to 2023 for the 2024 model.
What?
So did she keep her job for that?
I don't know. To be honest, that was from like 2013, 2014, like the last time Ford had me in Dearborn. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I don't. Kevin, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say my buddy in Maine ordered one, and of course he ordered the hardtop because he lives in Portland, Maine, where they see the sun 3 days a year. And he's just been on, exactly, and he's just been on this like holding pattern of will I get a truck or not? And he got that note that was like, well, you can get a free hardtop prep kit, which is not at all the same thing as a hardtop,
or as a delivered truck.
Right.
You guys are complaining, but the Bronco Sport has a hardtop.
Go away, Kevin.
What more do you want?
And how did said Bronco Sport do towing?
You'll just have to tune into UTV Driver to find out.
I can
Don't want to scoop yourself. Okay,
I can tell
done.
I can tell you that I having not towed with it and having only driven it from the shop to the house, the UTV Driver headquarters. I guarantee you it towed better than the Tacoma. I can promise you already. Oh my God. This thing is faster than my Mustang. So I've got a 67 Mustang with a 302 and a 5-speed, and it's faster than my Mustang. Guaranteed. I don't like it.
It does that thing where it's a Ford Escape. It's very bland. It's made to appease a lot of people. It's smooth, comfortable. It's not quiet for some reason. But then they stuffed the 2-liter EcoBoost turbocharged motor in it. So it does sort of fun things. It's not a real Bronco. It's, an Escape with
which
ponies on it.
I'm entirely fine with. I think that if you get in and it's got like rubber floor mats and all the switch gear is exceedingly cheap, and you're like, if this was $20,000 or $23,000, I would be 100% on board. But the one that we have, the first edition, blah 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 edition, is $40,000.
Psychotic.
That is psychotic. You can buy, Bronco fans, come at me. You can buy an actual vehicle for $40,000. And the first time, there's this famous David E. Davis quote that says, "You will know if a vehicle is a good vehicle or a bad vehicle within the first 5 feet." Right? You get in, you start driving, and you basically have all the information you need to know. This is not a bad vehicle, but in the first 5 feet, I thought, I can't wait to see these things in pull apart, because that's where they're going to be. They just have that.
It's like their Escapes.
Yeah, they have that feel, and unfortunately, this one is not priced like an Escape,
40 grand is real Bronco money.
That's real anything money, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
very much so.
That's way more than I paid for the Tacoma. That's way more than you would pay for a Wrangler. That's,
it's more than I paid for my Suburban. It's right, used, but still,
And the weird part about it is, I actually had a buddy point this out when I was showing the pictures earlier today. The UTV that we towed behind this thing was almost larger than the Bronco. So for $40,000, you're not getting much close. Vehicle. And I think this was probably just a first edition cash grab. They start much lower than that, but to get the specific vehicle that we tested, you're going to have to shell out more than $40,000 US.
What are the first edition only options?
Well, there's the stickers on the fender.
Right.
Yep. And the hood and the sides.
It's not an attractive vehicle, at least in that front 3/4.
All right. Have you seen a recent Escape though?
They're not aging well.
Oh God, no! It looks like it is going to be in the future what the '90s blobby Taurus is now.
Yep.
It's not good.
Again, what this reminded me of, I was in Norway once upon a time, and the only rental car that they had was a Citroen Cactus, which was spectacularly terrible, but fun and playful in a cheap car kind of way, and that's what this felt like, but didn't have a cheap car price tag, right?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm working on images for you. Sorry.
I try to be positive. I try to be because hey, somebody's gonna buy this thing and they're gonna be stoked on it. But just there's my Cactus.
Yeah. We're not the target market for the Bronco Sport.
No.
Who is the target market?
I put this
REI customers that don't actually do the stuff that all the REI equipment can actually do.
To be fair, the thing is quite capable. You guys, I don't know if you saw it or not, but there was one that flipped off of a 4,000-foot embankment out west.
That was wild.
And I actually had from my old Bold Overland days, Scott was a team member that went to rescue that thing, and apparently they're pretty darn. It's you remember how the XJs were hated when they first came out in the 90s?
Were they though?
Yeah, I mean it was. It's a truck, but it's not a truck. It doesn't have a frame.
If you compare this to an XJ Cherokee, I'm not going to say you're fired. I'm just going to say
you're definitely getting all the shit duty for the next month. That's right.
Got a lot of buyer's guides for you.
Well, no, I'm saying it appeals to that type of person, somebody who doesn't want a real truck. I was getting 30 miles to the gallon just cruising around the city in the thing.
Yeah, that's legit.
It can tow a UTV and go off road.
It does have a crap ton of cargo space in the back, which is
the American flag sticker didn't save it.
Sadly.
No, It rarely does.
Well, those colors don't run, but they will definitely roll down a ravine. That's how that goes.
Not good.
So a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Bronco Sport and Maverick at the same time. I think they're all going to be like teenagers and used versions of them. I feel like
what teenager can afford a $40,000 vehicle?
I'm talking like 2 to 3 years from now. I'm thinking like
Malibu
moms who are going to go buy an Escape are going to be like, grab that Bronco Sport instead. It looks better.
Yeah, and I can see retirees.
So like Honda Element target market was like 26 to or like 24 to like 28-year-old surfer dudes, right? But it's sold to like ladies in their 50s, like
just like all of Scion.
Right.
Well, yeah, like, I love manufacturers when they set up like, oh, our target market is 24 to 36, and I'm like, cool. The group of people guaranteed to have no money. Like, that's who you're aiming at. Great, fantastic.
Yep.
I can confirm 36-year-old me had much less money.
Correct.
No, well, it's the forecast lady. She's forecasting in 10 years that will be their target market.
As they're buying them as the third owner, so that's where I think they're headed is I think we're going to see a ton of Mavericks and Bronco Sports in high school parking lots.
Well, and I am stoked that like at least somebody is sort of paying attention to the bottom of the market, because, yeah, man, a Bronco Badlands is awesome, but no normal American human is going to be able to afford that, like a Rubicon Mojave is awesome, but who's shelling out $50,000 for a toy basically. So I don't know.
I'm Rubicon Recon or Rubicon Extreme Recon gonna
they haven't even priced that out yet. There's no number on that package.
It is as much as you will pay for it. I imagine that's probably what it's going to be.
It'll be a $5,000 package.
Well, easy.
What I like about what Ford's doing is they're making smaller vehicles in an age where everybody else is making increasingly larger vehicles, and you can use that as a segue into the next vehicle.
Increasingly larger vehicles. Oh, well, I mean, if you want to talk increasingly larger vehicles, then
which larger vehicle are we going
well, there's a bunch
to?
on this list here, but I mean, you can't say Ford's making smaller vehicles. The F-250 is possibly the biggest vehicle that I've actually seen just being driven like a car.
It was massive. I guess the tallest factory pickup truck you can currently buy. Or
would you like a pickup truck with bed rails that come to your eyebrows? Good news.
Darn close.
That was
one for you.
One of the best things about the Ridgeline is I'm not tall. I'm 5'9" on a good day. I can actually like reach into the bed instead of having to climb up on the tire.
That was one of the main reasons I bought the Tacoma. Like I had a 3/4 ton Dodge. It was an 03, and I could reach into the bed at any point and pick up something from the back of the truck. And modern 3/4 ton trucks are not that way. You basically have to pretend you're a 10-year-old kid climbing on the jungle gym to get anything in and out of the bed. It's
the trimmer package is just strange. I can't figure out the target market there. Who's going to buy a mobile home to take off road?
I love that this is your guy. Well, I mean, Zach definitely did. Like, we have documentation.
Who's crazy enough to do that? Yeah.
But I love that your guy's reaction is almost the exact same reaction as Glucker on the West Coast when he drove it and made a video basically saying, I don't know who this truck is for, and then took shit after shit after shit on YouTube comments.
Yeah, because people love it. Everyone loves this truck. It's insanity. Like, you pull into any parking lot and you've got guys like giving you the thumbs up and being like, oh man, is that the trimmer? And I'm like, how is this a thing? I don't understand. It's got a locker and like it's got like a 2-inch lift. It's got the optional winch up front, and everybody thinks it's a Power Wagon competitor, but it's very much not, right?
It's not.
No, like
it's more like Trail Boss competitor.
Yeah,
which isn't a thing either.
It's an appearance package, which is fine if you're into that. I've got a big soft spot for the Power Wagon. It's a 3/4 ton Wrangler, right? Like, the Power Wagon is as capable as a Wrangler is off-road, without a doubt, and it's just sorted. There are decades of development behind it. This is an F-250 with a lift kit and a winch. Like, there's
I like the child
stickers.
angle here.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it looks. Like when you walk up,
exactly.
as a grown man, when you walk up to the truck, that's what you're seeing. It's gorgeous. Like I will say, like the two-tone is fantastic. This is the King Ranch, so the interior is just, opulent. It's like
smells like leather.
Yeah, man. It's in like the back seat. So it's difficult to tell in photos, but as a full-grown adult, you can sit back there and have just acres of room. Like there's
party.
No shortage.
You can have a party back there.
Chris, I just sent you up in New Hampshire over this weekend. I parked the Ridgeline next to an early Ranger Tremor, like one of the 90s style ones. And it's parked next to a Can-Am X3. And there's I think a Commander on the other side. And the size is just hysterical of everything.
Ranger is so small.
Yeah.
Like
it's
Ranger.
Tiny especially, in a parking lot that's mostly like heavy duty pickups. But yeah, it's just,
crazy how far we've come.
But look how small the Ridgeline is. Like
so this is really interesting to me. So when they killed the Ford Ranger, the last year they made the previous generation Ranger, they were selling 77,000 of those a year. And
it's a bunch.
Ton.
That's a ton.
Honda sells 25,000 Ridgelines a year.
Yeah, at the time they were selling 16,000 Ridgelines a year, and Honda was like, "It's worth it," and Ford was like, "Nah, can't see anybody buying a Ranger anymore."
Right.
It's
how many
to me.
How many Rangers are they moving now?
Their whole logic for that at the time was that the people who were buying the Ranger were just buying the cheapest Ford they made, and they honestly thought Ranger buyers would jump into a Fiesta instead. Guess what didn't happen?
Guess what they killed?
Yeah.
So they sold 90,000 Rangers in 2019.
There you go.
Toyota's been running the Sequoia since 2005, and they've never sold more than 45,000. That was the first year. Like
happy as can be, man. It's insane. I don't know who makes what decision. And I'm sure there's all sorts of, extraneous factors at play there.
Money,
union forces, EPA regulations, crass regulations, like all of those things. But I just could not get my head around that at the time.
What's great about the F-250 is, buddy, it can tow. And all of the other vehicles we've spoken about thus far in this podcast just can't hold a stick to how well that thing tows. We were fortunate enough to get the Power Stroke this time. 6.7 liter, over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. We have
the truck rating?
How much does the Moon weigh?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know, Ross.
I'll
off the top of my head, it's a lot. It has one of the new 3-inch hitch receivers on the back of it that's rated for like 37,000 pounds or something.
Which like a class 4.
If you bumper tow that much weight, please email me. I need a photo. It's zach.bowman@octane.co. Because I don't understand it. Who needs to be able to pull 30,000 pounds with a standard hitch? I don't get it.
Oh my God. 15,000 off the bumper and 21.9 with the gooseneck.
There you go. And that's because the 250. If you step up to the 350 or the dually, sky's the limit.
Just pick a Abrams, like
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Pick a tank. Like
how much you want 2 tanks? Because I'll get you 2 tanks.
I tell you, I'm right in the middle of selling my home and going to RV life, so I can talk about tow capacities all day long. We're trying to find a fifth wheel and a truck to pull it, and it turns out you need a lot of truck to pull a 43-foot fifth wheel.
Yeah, bud, you need like a 98 Silverado 1500. I've seen this. I've seen
European
this.
model.
Oh, and hook the gooseneck to the hitch.
Yeah. You know how this goes.
Yeah, sure. Tennessee.
You're fine, bud. You're fine, bud.
That being said, we had Zach, how long did we have this F-250? 4 weeks? 5 weeks?
Yeah, it turned into like a 3-week loan because we were originally supposed to have it for 2 weeks, and then I was under a bit of panic because we had this big trip up to West Virginia and eastern Kentucky, and we had nothing to get all our units up there. So I made a pleading call to our local Ford rep who was kind enough to give us the truck for another week.
Yes, so big thank you to those guys. We took rigs out to Portsmouth Island. We took rigs up to Kentucky in West Virginia to hit the Hatfield McCoy Trail. The entire time, it was just a pleasure. Thing gets almost 20 miles per gallon, towing 2 UTVs and a steel deck car hauler.
No, it doesn't.
It almost does. It
almost like 15.5 or almost like 18.
Yeah, almost like I'm almost 7 feet tall.
Okay.
If you can keep your foot out of it, it'll encroach on 19 miles per gallon.
Not towing, it won't.
It's hand to heart. With my foot, I was closer to 16, 15.
That's pretty good. We got so my dad and my brother were pulling. They had the Outlander 650 in the bed of the Silverado, and then my dad's Razor and my brother's Maverick on a trailer, and they got like 12 over the course of the trip. So
we've
16's good.
We found that for the most part, 11 or 12 is pretty much standard for whatever you're towing. If you've got, so the load you're seeing here, that's probably 55, 6,000 pounds, somewhere around there.
That's about what we pull.
Almost every rig that we throw that in front of is hitting the 11 to 12 miles per gallon range. And, the power stroke here, Kevin's absolutely right. Like, it had no trouble hitting 16 miles to the gallon, which is pretty great. You're offsetting that a little bit because when you're towing like that, it sucks down DEF. I mean, just drains it.
Worst.
So, the good news is now, 10 years ago when they first started throwing DEF at diesels, you were basically stuck going to a parts store and then spilling urea all over your shoes as you tried to wrestle this stuff into whatever terrible orifice they decided to put on the truck. But now you can roll up to a truck stop and fill it up, and it's no big deal.
Who did that? Was that Chevy that put it in the
It still is. My dad's got a 2500, and it's almost in the middle of the engine bay, back by the firewall. It's like I can't reach it. I don't even try.
Chevrolet.
That's enough to make me not buy their diesel.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
fucking stupid design.
It's the worst. Like, at best, you're going to spill that stuff all over the engine bay, and it crystallizes almost immediately and looks like absolute garbage. Yeah, it's a terrible design. The Ford's right in the fuel filler where it should be. That's where you're going to put it. So, anyway.
Yep. How driving around? Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Keep going.
I was going to say, driving around unloaded, never had to think about DEF. The second we put a trailer behind it, we were filling up. There must be some kind of tow haul mode.
Chris is unfamiliar with this.
I don't drive diesels that often, so I'm like, why?
So diesel exhaust fluid is it's effectively urea, and they inject it into the exhaust to bind with the nitrous oxide to basically just create water. So it's a portion of the particulate emission system.
Right. It also helps it not smell, right? Isn't that why like European diesels smell worse normally in Europe?
It's a pollution thing.
It's a pollution thing.
Yeah, it limits NOx. What limits smell is your diesel particulate filters.
Okay.
And your what are the EGRs or whatever?
EGR.
Yep.
Spits it back in and recombusts it 400 more times.
All of which you can delete if you really want to make big power, or go to jail for tampering with, emission stuff.
We'll call Gail Banks on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we should.
But yeah, no, the Ford F-250 was fantastic. We loved having it around to pull and yank and all that fun stuff. So
how'd the Escalade do on gas mileage?
Oh my God! All right, so I've got to be. I'm gonna show you my my bougie side here. I adore this machine.
What?
It's all he's talked about for a week.
I know. All right. So this one, as it sits, is $113,000.
That's a fuck ton of money.
All right. Okay. So let's
that's a huge number.
Let's stop here. Okay. So
but it's only like 3 Bronco Sports.
We're not going back to the Bronco Sport. I'm going to get angry. So that is a lot of money. There's no universe in which it's not. That's considerably more money than I paid for my first house. However, when we think about all of the modern trucks that we've had roll through the UTV Driver headquarters, very few of them have rung in at less than $90,000. And you're talking about a pickup truck, right?
Right.
You're talking about a pickup truck, and like as nice as the F-250 interior is, and that's a $90,000 pickup truck, it's still cheap. It's still Ford, right? Like, they've got like 3 pieces of what I assume is supposed to be wood in there. There's acres of hard plastic. The center of the steering wheel is supposed to be like this faux wood grain, but it's just a sheet of hard plastic that's been imprinted with leather, right? You get in this thing, and this is the first time that this has happened. I've been reviewing Cadillac. Beth and I got married in 2009, and the vehicle that we drove away from our wedding in was an Escalade. That felt like a gaudier Tahoe. This feels like a proper luxury vehicle. Like the interior in this thing feels as good as anything Mercedes or Porsche or Audi is turning out right now. Everything is covered in spectacular leather. The stereo is transcendent. You're looking at all this black, in front of the steering wheel and all the rest of that. That's all this beautiful high resolution screen. All of it's touch screen. It's hyper responsive. It feels like what you thought the future of a car is going to feel like, right? It has augmented reality cameras for some reason. It has night vision for some reason. It's quiet. Towing, we got 13 miles to the gallon out of it.
That's pretty good.
And we weren't towing 2 rigs. We had a pretty heavy trailer, like a Bobcat trailer, and one of the Talons behind the thing. So it's hard to say exactly how much that weighs. The Talon's 1,500 pounds. The trailer, what do you think, Ray? 1,600 pounds, 1,700 pounds?
Yeah, probably 1,700 pounds.
So you're talking about 3,000 pounds. So effectively a car, right? It didn't care. It's got the air ride suspension. The transmission is just buttery smooth. And, you feel like you want to put your boot heels to the proletariat when you're driving it. It's truly spectacular. 3-row seating. It's just exceptionally nice.
Is it the 6.2 and a 10-speed?
That's correct. Yep.
So, yeah, it's actually, you're 100% right. I mean, the first few generations of Escalade were literally just like gussied up Tahoes. Yep. Or Yukons, depending on which starting point you want to look at. And this is actually, it's not like bespoke, but it's definitely.
It's still on that platform, but the difference in interior is night and day. I'm not sure how many shared components there are in there, but we've had the Tahoe, we have had the Yukon, and the interior in here feels like stepping into a different world. This is the second one we've had. The first one this has this like gorgeous oxblood leather, which I've described as the blood of the proletariat. But the previous one had this like beautiful 2-tone leather with like sort of like a like Nordic gray fabric on the bottom that was just spectacular. Got dirty if you even thought about looking at it. But
what lights up on the wheel? Is that literally RPMs?
So no, that's for the Super Cruise. So this one will drive itself. We didn't get to play with that because all of the roads that we were on in Eastern Kentucky, shock of shock, had not been mapped for Super Cruise by Cadillac.
No way.
Mostly because this vehicle was worth 4 or 5 times the average household income in Eastern Kentucky. But
it's a lot of leather.
Yeah, I mean, you're feeling around and you're poking and prodding, and there's no plastic in there, which for Cadillac that just doesn't or has not happened in generations, right?
Does the larger of the 2 screens, can you get a nice fire glow? Like, can you get?
God, that'd be sick, wouldn't it?
So good on like a cold winter day.
Well, that was like the Grand Wagoneer like concept photos. Like they had this fire like going across the entire dash, like for light up stuff.
They need to bring back the Avalanche-based Escalade pickup because that thing with a bed would be like,
oh my God,
the most pretentious thing.
Totally unaffordable.
I'd find a way to sell a kidney or somebody else's kidneys or something. I'd make that happen. I'm not a person who like covets wealth. Like that's for the most part, I've got a strong side eye for people with stacks of cash, but this is one of those vehicles that goes, oh yeah, no, it'd be nice to be rich. Actually, I can see that. So these big screens in the back are kind of a pain. If you're on like little windy roads, you can't see much past the screen, but you can do some pretty cool stuff. Like you can call up a destination on the map and you can send that to the front. So if you've got a driver up there, you can say, hey, take me to this restaurant, and the navigation will just drop it right to the front screen, and they'll know where you're going.
Can you disable that in case of small children?
I mean, or grown children in the back.
Or yeah, probably more likely
asshole, like
drunk, similarly aged friends.
I can say with some authority that it does have an entry for dildo Newfoundland.
Who would have figured that out?
I was driving in a monsoon through the tightest, twistiest, coal-covered road in Kentucky. No, we were in West Virginia at that point. We were right on the line. And I'm trying not to kill us on this cliff. And Dildo Newfoundland pops up on the screen as I'm driving. And the nice little lady starts to tell me how to get to Dildo Newfoundland. How do I turn this off?
Yeah. Well done. Well done.
Dismiss.
Massaging seats, automatic running boards that come in and out.
I just like the automatic boards because I'm assuming they will always break.
Yeah, maybe, but that's future use problem. That's not now use problem. That's
you're going to turn it in before the lease is up if you buy one of these things.
That's true. I've seen too many trucks with one hanging down and one up.
Oh man, do I have a great story about automatic running boards? Quick aside. So when I was at Road and Track, I did this story where we took apart a Dodge Ram 3500 with 1,100 pound-feet of torque. And we stripped it down to try and beat the first-gen Viper's quarter-mile time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was terrifying. I was freelance at the time. It was just me in a parking lot, just like trying to take this truck apart. So we had the doors off, we had the bed off, like all this stuff to try and strip down weight. When I put it back together, I put one connector in upside down, which was a thing you could do. Like they weren't keyed. So when I did that, the running board stopped working, and I bricked that entire like 11.5 inch tombstone in the middle. And I had this like terrifying moment where I was like, Jesus Christ, I've broken this like $120,000 pickup truck, and I'm in the middle of BFE, California.
Oh, no.
So like I drove it down the road for a little bit and then realized that like I couldn't control the radio. So the radio was just like this obnoxious volume because I'd been blasting like Iron Maiden while I was on the drag strip. And I like pull as one does. So I pull over at this gas station and I'm poking and prodding. And like I can still remember being under the truck and plugging the thing in correctly, and the running board's like sucking back up into the truck, and I almost wept. I was so excited.
That's funny. It would have I'm just imagining the scenario in which everything was just reversed. So like you open the door and they go up, and you close the door and they go down, and everything's just backwards.
There you go. Yeah, that looks
Jesus
familiar.
Christ! What was the result of that? I don't remember. I remember the story.
We did not get super close. It did shockingly well. The old drag racing adage is like for every 100 pounds, you basically chop half a second off of your quarter mile, and we pulled. It was in excess of 600 pounds off that truck. It had like the optional fifth wheel hookup that we pulled out. It had the bed, the tailgate, both doors. We had every seat out of it with the exception of the driver's seat. And the guys were like, take off the hood. And I was like, I'm not going to take off the fucking hood on this truck. So we have all of that shit just like laying out in the parking lot at, what was it? Famoso Raceway? Yeah, Famoso Raceway in California. And then just like a giant rainstorm rolls through. So I've got like to panic hustle all of these, like, it was a Laramie. So like everything's like black leather. I've got to hustle all of this stuff into like a garage to pray that it doesn't get ruined. It was miserable.
And that's when Zach realized that Viper Life might be better.
Oh no, Zach knows Viper Life is better. Trust me.
Viper Life is better than everything.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Viper Life, TRX.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh. Oh, bud.
TRX is like Viper Life for trucks.
And confirm.
Probably my favorite rig we've had thus far. Just the most hooligan rad, spicy thing money can buy right now. I'm not gonna say Zach and I jumped it.
No.
But we jumped it.
Zach was not driving. Somebody else was driving. And was super airborne in the middle of Alcoa.
Jesus Christ.
And it doesn't care. Like
it did not care.
It's as happy 5 feet in the air.
A
couple feet in the air.
Five? Ross's height.
I will say, like
5'9".
It weighs as much as the space shuttle and flies about as well, right? So it can do it. It's just not, wasn't built for it necessarily.
The jump mode, jump deployment mode, shock to what's it?
It's Baja mode. It has Baja mode,
and it has it's oh god,
which is hooligan mode.
Drop. It's something about drop, Ross. It identifies the drop.
Mm-hmm.
Shop.
It did not care. I can still see the lady's eyes and lane, just like frying pans just stuck to her face as this giant truck comes sailing through the air. Just great, just splendid. I've been lucky enough to spend some time in the Raptor. I don't know which one I like better. I think I like the TRX better because it's more absurd. Like it's a 700 horsepower supercharged V8. Like, okay, yeah, I'm here for that.
I'm going to completely wreck us because the news, was it today? Does the Silverado ZR2 is now possibly a thing?
That's not going to be the same.
You don't think so?
I don't think it'll.
No, they're going to get suspension from Multimatic or somebody, and that's going to be it.
I don't know, man.
Why wouldn't they call Rancho? They put them on the Trail Boss.
Oh, God.
They have Multimatic on the ZR2 Colorado.
The ZR2 Colorado is a spectacular machine, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Good vehicle.
I don't know, man. If they're going to throw all that stuff at the Silverado, maybe they've got a shot at it.
I mean, they could find a V8 to supercharge. It's GM. Like,
they already have.
I'm about to say they've got a couple of those hanging
around.
They
have a few
somewhere.
of those, yeah.
Yeah.
They're already in Cadillacs and, other GM vehicles.
Do me a solid. UTV Driver ran some spy shots of the Chevy stuff a couple weeks ago. And they just happen to have the ZR2 Colorado fleet bed with them for their testing.
So that must have been the ZR2 Silverado we saw there, because there was a standard cab with flares in camo at like the barbecue place down the road from Windrock.
Yeah.
And we were rolling out there just to Windrock being our big OHV park that's nearby. We were rolling out there to take photos of something. Oh, it was the X5.
The BMW. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had an X5. Oh, yeah. Out of character.
Very much. Also,
we just happened to see them.
How did the TRX tow?
Great. Did not care.
Fantastic. Yeah. It had the TRX has the the 4,000 inch display in the center of it that most of the Dodges get now. And then right next to it, it has a TRX button, and that changes the way the suspension does whatever it does. Side note, the TRX has the most advanced suspension system on any factory optioned rig right now. And it shows it was better than some UTVs that we've tested. So when you're towing, you just hit the button and it does the magic.
Sorts it out. I mean, I will say, like, nothing that we have had has felt that compliant, like just absolutely sorted. All right, so scroll down here a little bit.
For the audio listener, it's the spy shots now.
It is spy shots.
I am not living up to clapping tonight. I'm slow as shit.
Doing okay. It looks like they had one of those bisons, the AEV bisons up there too.
So that's the bison. That photo got so many likes on our social media, and it still does.
I want it.
I want it. Like, I don't even care how many kids it'll hold. That's great.
Is that a diesel too? That have the Baby Duramax exhaust?
Yep.
Nice.
I think
if you scroll back up to the top, Chris, you'll see the ZR2 Silverado. It has the two-tone wheels.
So that the black one right there.
There you go.
Yep. So you can see that it's got the camo on the front and camo on the bed. So they've got flares tucked in there somewhere.
I think there might be one additional photo below that one.
I hope they do a single cab version of this.
It definitely looks taller,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
Not
interesting.
Yeah, not as psychotic as Raptor or TRX with.
I think
but...
you mean perfect as TRX is.
I think it'll be a dressed up
touche.
trail boss. I think they'll go full off road with it. Just like the ZR2 Colorado or the Bison. Put real suspension on it, put lockers on it, and all that fun stuff. But it's not going to be a Raptor or a TRX competitor, I don't think.
How many switches are in the inside of the T-Rex?
Enough.
All of them. It's
not
like
too
like Apollo 13 in there.
So many. It's actually that you bring up a good point, Chris. So this switch to touchscreens. Having just talked about the Escalade,
where you everything is a touchscreen.
That tactical ability to just reach over and change the volume in your rig or whatever.
I will say
you have to look.
The Dodge is doing some of my favorite truck interiors right now because they give you the option of tactile buttons, right? Mm-hmm. So on either side of the tombstone, which is the giant screen in the middle, there are buttons for HVAC. There are knobs for volume and power off. Like, if you don't want to screw with the screen, you can just mash your button and you can control whatever you want to control, which is pretty nice.
Yep. Which is super important when you're doing 120 miles an hour.
In the desert.
In the desert.
Yeah. In Mexico.
Allegedly.
Yeah. No, Jeep does the same thing. And that's the best way to do it.
Yep. Because, these screens are supposed to help you and supposed to be more user friendly, and 9 times out of 10 they're not. They require they require you to take your eyes off the road, and it just sucks.
The Dodge was not that way though. Just a very well Ram.
Yeah, we got a sternly worded email from our friends at Ram.
I'm a product of the 80s, so you'll have to forgive me.
Ram via Stellantis. Yes. Them and their names.
Them and their names, boys. Them and their names.
Yeah. But no, God bless those engineers.
If I had a wealthy relative and they died tomorrow, this is what I would have in the driveway on Monday.
Not the Escalade.
Find one.
Oh man, tough.
Because you're almost at the same price point based on markup.
No, not even close actually.
Por qué no los dos?
I thought markups had been.
How much money are we talking?
Pushing them up.
Well, we're imagining that I have wealthy relatives, so we might as well imagine for the sky, bud. I'm getting both.
Yep. Getting both.
Yep.
Why not both?
Por qué no los dos? So is the R-Max still the top of the fantasy UTV permanently for you guys, or at least for you, Kevan?
I think so. Am I wrong?
I'll tell you what, bud. The Talon that we have been doing upgrades on, is neck and neck with the R-Max.
Oh, don't lie to these people! Jesus Christ, they trust you.
I'm not. Who has more seat time?
I'm just saying. If they could sort the throttle on the Talon, I would be stoked on it. Mm-hmm. But it is a good looking rig.
I saw a bunch of them in New Hampshire. I saw exactly 2 R-Maxes.
And I will say that, since we've run it on, we run these things on pretty aggressive trails, right? We're not just hitting forest roads or hitting groomed 2-track. We're hitting gnarly rock gardens and creek crossings and things where, it requires a smooth throttle, and that is not a thing the Talon does. Full stop. The throttle is hypersensitive, and the second you get off in anything rough, you get this feedback loop of throttle and foot, where you're just, you're spitting molars out by the time you're done,
And it's physically the pedal and the throttle tuning. It's not it doesn't change if you put it in low or anything.
Does not. It gets marginally better in low. It gets marginally better with the larger 32-inch tires that we put on the Live Valve edition. But that alone, especially for East Coast riding, that would be enough to turn me off. There are a lot of people who buy these things who never run it in that kind of condition. And we were up in West Virginia last weekend running on trails that looked, more like this, more groomed, and it was great. It's fast. The DCT is fantastic. You can control it with the paddle shifters, just bang, bang, bang.
So cool.
The Fox Live Valve is awesome. I mean, truly, truly awesome. I think it's taking so like stuff like this. You basically have to pin it and hope for the best, which, as off road, that's not the best scenario.
Not for this. Maybe for like the rock bouncers, but
when in doubt, throttle out is how to break a rally car.
It's how to break anything, right? Yeah. That's how to break your coccyx. That's how to break a CV.
A relationship with Honda.
Right. Exactly. But if you don't just power through it, you physically cannot control the thing. We have found that you can ride the brake a little bit. You can left foot brake it, and that helps. But then you're just causing wear and tear on the brakes. It's still capable as hell. It goes places that I would not take a modern Rubicon. And I think the base one is $20,000, right? It's like 19.9 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Screaming deal in terms of like off-road fun. I truly impressed. But for me, if I'm putting my money down, I'm buying that R-Max. It feels more put together, I guess, more developed than any of the other units that we've had. The interior is excellent. It's very capable right out of the box. You don't need to throw larger wheels and tires on it. It's got an actual mechanical locker, which, we all know that if you have an actual mechanical locker, you can go places that you can't go with, a simulated e-diff the way that the Talon has with its i4-wheel drive.
And the Can-Ams.
And the Can-Ams.
And the Kawasaki's. Yeah, Yamaha's four-wheel drive system is the best.
It occasionally sucks because it is a mechanical locker. So you've got to stop and push the button and then wait for the thing to actuate and all the rest of that stuff. But man, when it's locked, it's locked. You were climbing.
I think if Yamaha could figure out, and I've spoken with Pat about this, if they could figure out how to make that thing quieter, it would be perfect.
It is
truly perfect.
It is that loud?
Oh
it is
really
so loud. By the end of the day, every time I've got a migraine from driving that thing. Yeah, it's so loud.
That's terrible.
Your ears are ringing.
So
it's a combination of gearbox, tire,
resonation,
and exhaust. It's very loud.
If they could make that thing the same, volume as the Talon, buddy.
I mean, the difference is, you can sit right seat in the Talon and have a conversation with the guy driving. You can't really do that with the R-Max. Not at anything close to full chat.
So getting an R-Max makes it easier to ignore my children.
Exactly.
Copy that.
So that Outlander I had this past weekend, it's the hunting edition, and it has this huge secondary muffler to keep it quiet. And I usually, on my Scrambler, the resonator and the packing in the exhaust was removed by the previous owner, and it's so loud and it just backfires, and I usually have a headache after like 4 hours riding it, even with a helmet on. And this was a demonstration of how much sound affects that. Just
are we old?
I think we're old. And
I'm 100% there.
To continue with the being old, my wife is an audiologist, and she actually is having custom ear molds made for me to wear under the helmet because it's like the noise is just so abusive, and you don't think about it because at first it's like, oh, I'm in the woods, I'm having fun, and then 6 hours later it's like, okay, where's the Advil? You know?
Well, and it impacts how tired you are, which impacts how safe you are, right? 100%. Like the more fatigued you are, the more likely you are to make poor decisions and flip a thing, which is not why any of us are out there.
Bad.
Always bad. Never a good time. Yeah. So
that's interesting that it's not loud.
Yeah, it's loud, but my gosh, is it fast? For a thing with a bed, it has a hydraulic lift bed. It can bomb down some trails, and Zach will back me up there.
Yeah, statute of limitations and all, but it is not hindered by its utility side. Sucker's quick and tough. We've run the absolute snot out of it. I think we're over 500 miles now on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we've run it in, I mean, what you're looking at there, just some of the roughest stuff that we can throw it at, and it just does not care.
When you think of the Wolverine name back,
Red Dawn.
Yeah, not that one.
Wolverine. Sorry.
Wolverine. It's Yamaha Wolverine. Always been the name that sort of says this: you buy this machine and it will do everything you ask, everything that you need to do, whether it be on your ranch, your farm, in your driveway, out on the trail, or at on a race day. It is in some way capable of doing that. They have just hit the nail on the head with this thing. We've done rock crawling, mud crawling.
That picture was perfectly timed, just saying.
Oh no.
That's Zach.
I was there for like 10 minutes trying to figure out how the fuck I was going to go up that hill. So that was
so for the listeners, we're looking at a photo of Zach sideways on a very muddy hill.
What would you call it? A 30-degree angle somewhere?
At 30 is what I was going to guess.
At least. And he's, I don't even know how to explain that.
Trying not to shit said self.
That's correct. So a little bit of context here. I've got Kevan behind me. I have two of Yamaha's representatives down the hill also behind me, watching me. And I'm like, I swear to God, if I flip this thing in front of both Yamaha and Kevan, I'm just going to walk off into the woods and die. Like, nobody's ever going to find my body. I'm just going to disappear into the mist.
Well, the best part about this photo is I'm standing up on a ledge taking a picture of what I think is the Yamaha rep. And this person is yelling back at me, "Am I good? Am I good?" And I'm thinking, you built this rig. You're trained to drive. You're fine. Go ahead. It's not until he gets up out of the way and then the next rig drives up and the Yamaha reps are in that. And I'm thinking, who was in the other? Zach?
So I rely on Kevan a lot for spotting, right? Like, Kevan's got a lot more off-road experience than I do. And, where he tells me to go, I'm more or less happy to go. Eventually that will bite me in the butt, but it has not yet. And, I'm saying, hey man, am I good? Or am I on the right line? And he's like, yeah, he's just quiet. He's just, snapping photos, which usually means I am very much not on the right line.
Fine.
But
thanks for better pictures.
It turned out.
Yeah, the thing didn't care. I mean, if you look close in this photo, which you can see some of these photos. I think we've got an RMAX gallery up on UTVDriver.com. But you've got one wheel that's almost at full extension, and it on most rigs I would say you're pretty close to the tipping point here, and this one just did not care. Just incredibly stable, and with the locker engaged going up this really soupy, really sloppy. Slick climb, it just billy goated right up it. Easy to fall in love with. And Yamaha's given us some grief because we keep using this thing and we keep putting it up against either dedicated sport rigs or dedicated utility rigs, which is really not its direct competition. It's a sport rec rig. But it's so good in all of those places that it keeps its head above water, and that's what we're trying to show people is that, like, yeah, man, I would have this over a Talon. This is as fun as a Talon is, and you can load the bed with firewood. You can tow 2,000 pounds with it. Like, it is a proper rig. So,
cool looking thing too.
It looks great.
I'm looking at the spec sheet though. I'm shocked. It's like 1,900 pounds wet.
Yeah.
That's surprising me. I figured it would be closer to like the 15, 16 range.
A lot of that's due to the factory options that come standard on these things. So the base model is quite a bit lighter. And then the second you jump up to the XDR, which why wouldn't you? You get winches, skid plate, you get all this stuff that you wouldn't normally get with, other rigs like that. And that makes it heavier.
Yeah, so we weighed the unit that we have with a full tank of fuel, and on our scales it did 2,025 pounds, with 47% of the weight up front and 53% of the weight in the rear, which is pretty good. I think the only other thing that has had a similar weight distribution front rear was the Can-Am Defender, and it weighs about the same. So, or the Defender Limited, excuse me, the HD10.
They're all creeping up. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they are effectively, small cars and trucks at this point.
Right. They're more CJ and Jeep-esque than like the Mahindra Roxor that was out for
absolutely
a brief period.
Defender Max or just Defender Limited?
Defender HD10 Limited. That was the one.
Yeah, it was Defender Limited.
So two-door.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a million different Can-Ams right now.
I'm scrolling through pictures trying to grab one.
You'll be there for a while. It might take a minute. What else? So what else have you guys been playing with? I mean, I know, but
so the big thing that we did over the past week is we ran out to Pike County, Kentucky. Yeah, look at that little goofball. That little sucker. $24,000, right, Kevin? Yeah, we're looking at an HD10 Limited right now.
Proportionally strange vehicle.
Full sealed cabin. You can put like 1,000 pounds in the bed. It has HVAC, so heat and air conditioning. It's got a windshield wiper. As nice as one of these things can possibly be. The interior's like two-tone leatherette type stuff. None of it makes any sense. I adore it.
It was fantastic. It's like owning a mini King Ranch. It makes no sense, and you just want more of it.
Can-Am King Ranch.
Can-Am King Ranch.
It looks like something they drive on the moon.
I mean,
it's the tiny tires. If you hop online and look at the guys putting 35s on these things, they look fine. For whatever reason, they come with the tiny tires.
But yeah, no, we went out to Pike County, Kentucky, which is the largest county on the East Coast, so east of the Mississippi. Huge coal mining area right on the border with West Virginia. If you know your mining history, it's right next to. Am I going to say this right? Matewan. I did it. It's written Matawan, but they pronounce it Matewan because the closest creek is the Mate Creek.
Good job.
Because there has been so much gas exploration and coal mining in the area, they have over 900 miles of trail in this one county. And right now, it's all outlaw trail. So people ride it all the time, but you're not really supposed to be there, right? You're technically trespassing. So Pike County put together a trails authority in 2017, and they've been working ever since to legitimize the trail system. And they're getting close. The optimistic guys say there's 6 months from opening this trail system up to everybody. The pessimistic guys say 2 years. So somewhere between 6 months and 2 years, there's going to be another 900 miles of trail that butt up against the current Hatfield McCoy system, which is another 800 miles of trail.
That's insane.
So combined, you'll have 1,700 miles of trail. And the crazy part, we're used to stuff like Windrock, where it's all tree cover, it's all tree canopy. There are a couple of views, but like for the most part, you really can't see anything. The stuff in Pike County has been so recently restored. It was only like 10 years ago that they returned the mountainside to pretty much what it was supposed to be. So it's a lot of grass, it's a lot of small poplars and cedars and Russian olives, that sort of thing. And the result is you can see forever. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were at one point, and I think our guide pointed out 4 states that we could see from where we were. It's just ridiculous. They've got wild horses out there.
I was about to say,
just the kind of riding that you don't really get on the East Coast. You're used to being out west where there's no tree cover and you can ride up and see forever, but that really doesn't happen out here, especially not in Appalachia. And this was proper. This was properly cool. So we did a little bit of that. We hit, I don't know, maybe 30 miles of the Hatfield McCoy Trail just to say we did it while we were there. It was a trip. It was a trip to be in a place where there's so much history that you've either read or watched about. Yeah, it was 100% worth doing. We stayed at a place called Hatfield's Hideout, which is run by Chancey Hatfield. He's the direct descendant of Valentine Hatfield. Valentine Hatfield being cool. Yeah, super cool. Being Devil Ance's brother. Devil Ance being the guy who pretty much killed McCoys by the cord. It's worth checking out. You know, the campground is fairly new. It's about a year old. They've got a couple of cabins there that were way nicer than I thought they were going to be. You know, I'd sort of packed a tent and everything, sort of expecting the worst, preparing for the worst, I'll be honest. But we step in this place and there's air conditioning, there's a stove, there's, you know, Wi-Fi, everything you'd need to just have a good time. And it's right there in a bend of the Tug River, it's just gorgeous. I mean, as pretty as it comes.
Did they say if are the trail systems going to be like actually intertwined at some point, or is it you can ride on the road to get from place to place, or you got to throw it on the trailer?
So you can ride the road. So Kentucky just passed a ride law where, you know, it's basically up to the counties to determine which roads are okay to ride on and which ones aren't. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Pike County is gung-ho about this. So they've pretty much decided that, you know, it's up to the county. Anything under 35 miles an hour, anything at 2-lane, you're pretty much good to go, which is very similar to West Virginia.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge economy booster.
That's the hope.
It's got to be. I mean, you know, we checked out some of the places on the West Virginia side, and, you know, you got to realize that Hatfield McCoy's been going for 20 years now. You know, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's been a chunk of time. And the sort of lodges that have popped up are just insane. I mean, you know, the kind of near resort amenities that you don't expect to be attached to four-wheeling exist in these places. And you can go put up your family in a tent, or you can pull up your fifth wheel and stay on the top of a mountain with like properly good food, connectivity, the whole 9 yards. So it'll be interesting to watch that stuff grow on the Kentucky side, because it's you know, there's no hiding the fact that it's a properly impoverished area, and it's an area that's been hit really, really hard for a very long time. So
it sounds like it's the opposite of what like San Juan County out in Colorado I think they just passed a law that basically said no side-by-sides on the road. Mm-hmm. In San Juan County. So like all those people that were going up over passes from like Ouray and Telluride into Silverton to have lunch or whatever,
not doing it anymore.
No, because they can't ride on the roads to get to town to then visit those businesses. So who knows how long that rule lasts.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that there's that much stuff going on in Kentucky. I don't think of Kentucky at all.
I don't either. I mean, it's
Bowling Green. That's about it.
I mean, that corner is effectively West Virginia. You're in West Virginia in that corner effectively, mm-hmm. and you just hop back and forth across the river between the two. And, you know, ironically, that's how the Hatfield-McCoy feud went. The Hatfields had the Kentucky side, the McCoys were on the West Virginia side, and they just, you know, fought each other back and forth across the river for 10 years or 15 years. You know, I'm definitely conflicted about road use with UTVs. It's easy to look at these things as big toys and not understand how dangerous they can be. It's super important to wear your lid. You got to have a helmet on if you're in one of these things, and it's hyper important to watch your speed, because they don't handle like a car. You know, you come around a corner and you expect it to turn, and it's not going to turn because you've got 12 inches of suspension travel and you're on knobby tires. And as anybody
behind you.
Yeah, and the engine's behind you. Anybody who's driven a lifted Jeep can tell you, when you turn the wheel, sometimes the Jeep doesn't care that you turn the wheel, you know? So, you know, I'm hyper interested in seeing this hobby persist because it's cool, and it gets people out into places that you just could not get otherwise, you know, not without $40,000 of built rig on 1-ton axles and 37s. So, you know, if you got one, be safe, wear your lid. Don't put your young kids in the thing without a proper seat and restraints. Super important.
Well, then we were in Colorado last summer, and the people we were there with, they were like, hey, let's go do a ride. And I said, okay, can I strap the car seats into the back of it? And the company was like, well, you can seatbelt them in, but I was like, then we're not going. Like, I've seen the Rocky Mountains. I know how this goes.
Yeah.
I've seen full-size Jeeps roll down these things. Bronco Sports. Like,
that's right.
I'm not taking that risk with those kids yet. But
that's actually one of the interesting things that will differ between the Kentucky side and the West Virginia side of the Hatfield McCoy system. Right now, the established West Virginia Hatfield McCoy system is basically they take on the liability. There are rules and regulations that you have to follow, and I think from what we were able to vet out, the Kentucky side is trying to take a more hands-off approach and put that liability onto the riders so that they can come to market faster, if you will. So it'll be interesting to see which method works out best.
Most manufacturers are very clear that any kid under 13 shouldn't be in the rig.
Generally 16
generally 16.
You're not supposed to be operating one of these if you're under 16 or in it.
And there are companies that are making dedicated car seats specifically for these that either work with the 4 points or the 3-point harnesses. I've got a 6-year-old daughter. She's probably not going to be in one of these until she's much older, and that's a bummer because I think she'd love it, to be out in the sticks and bumping around and getting muddy and all the rest of that. But
100%, I know I have a kid who would be screaming his head off laughing the whole time. And like, he's part of it sounds horrible to say, he's part of a YouTube generation. Like, YouTube has been around his entire life.
Sure.
And so
weird.
Here's the worst part, Ross. He lives his life like he's in a YouTube video.
Whoa.
He drives me
I don't understand.
nuts. He'd be like, all right, so today's challenge. I'm like, there's no fucking challenge for today. We just have to get through the day. Like, we have stuff to do. Like,
that's the challenge.
That is the challenge. Yeah.
But he doesn't know that yet. I haven't told him what we have to do. But it's his influence. Like, it's
funny.
Maybe it's a parenting fail on my part. He's watched enough of these videos that, like, it's the kid that when I share the picture of the Land Cruiser going across the river, he's in the backseat with both arms in the air going like, this is the best ever. Like, jumping at Dukes of Hazzard later. Like, everything he does, he's a middle child. Everything he does has to be bigger and bolder. But like side-by-sides or something, I'm like, I'm interested in that. Like, I could.
Yeah. So Polaris still makes the Razor 170.
Yeah, which are super cool.
They say, age 10 and up.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually just ran a list of the best youth side-by-sides recently on the website. And I was shocked doing the research for that. What kind of units you can buy for really young adults or kids, older kids.
Well, that stuff is cool because it teaches you or teaches your kids that sort of muscle memory.
Yeah.
That, part of the reason Kevan is such a great off-roader is because he's been off-road since he was tiny, right? I mean,
8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, 8 or 9 years old.
They stuck me on an XR100 and said, good luck.
So, he knows what a line is. He knows where he can and cannot go. And, these youth side-by-sides are the perfect way to get your kid into that thing safely and get them out on the trail in a safe manner that's not just, bouncing around in an adult-sized seat. And that, that muscle memory of how to operate a machine will be with them for the rest of their life. When it comes time for them to hop into a car, they will be miles ahead of their compatriots.
Absolutely. What's cool about the youth specific rigs is they come with parental controls. Parents can set speed limits. They can geofence, all sorts of stuff.
The geofencing is new and it is wild. There's always been throttle limiters. There's a screw on the back and you just push the screw further in and you can't push the throttle open more. So
geofence is literally, I set a GPS coordinate, it gets near that and it dies.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. They're utility
really
specific
inopportune.
Which is like a little UTV with a little tiny bed in it.
Yeah.
You can geofence your property and then tell your kid to go check the fences, and they
Get
can
the
check the
firewood.
fences but go no further.
Don't come home until the bed's full of firewood.
It's cool. I love it.
Dude,
I love the idea of safely putting your kids in a rig, inspiring that joy, that love of this lifestyle,
Well,
and making them safe.
And the freedom that comes with that, right? Like I think the thing that all of us enjoy about being off-road is that it feels like a level of freedom that modern life doesn't really afford you.
Yeah.
And I think that's doubly true for kids, right? Like I read a New York Times piece a while ago that said that there's a large percentage of children who will have fewer than 10 minutes alone before 10 years old. Like they are just never left to their own devices before 10 years old. And I get it as a modern parent, but at the same time, like, solitude, problem solving, all of those things that make you a self-sufficient, good member of society, they don't come by being hovered around, until you're 10 years old. There's got to be a certain level of, you fuck up and you figure it out. That comes with the freedom of being a roaming child,
There's about to be a back in my day comment, isn't there?
We didn't
have all my
fencing.
Yeah. that was the benefit of, and I know that the last year has been horrific to millions of people, but that was the benefit of the pandemic. Was every family on the street, all the parents work from home.
Mm-hmm.
It became our bubble. The kids are like, I'm going outside. If you leave the street, I need to know. But that was it.
Great.
There's an elementary school in the backyard. You can go play that. That was always in bounds.
That's awesome.
Our side of the building was out of bounds, but if you're on this side, you were good. And the street. So like seeing the confidence level in the 10-year-old and the 6-year-old for just being outside, like, because before that, in a year prior, we're like, you see an adult scream and run home.
Right.
Like it was completely different. But now it's like they're roving gangs of children now in the neighborhood.
The way it should be.
Gangs of Kansas City.
The last year was like watching the first season of Stranger Things again and going like, yes, that's what we did when we were kids. Like the amount of farmers that screamed at us for being in their fields when we were
bicycle
kids.
gangs.
Bicycle gangs were scary when you were a kid.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Polaris is doing all sorts of fun stuff to get kids involved in the industry. I mean, if you think about it, they're just investing in their future market. It's brilliant. But one thing that I don't even know if you can do, we've tested the Polaris. What's it called, Zach? Where it was like Ride Along or something.
Where Ride Command,
where you can see other rigs around you. They connect with each other, and you can see them on the GPS, and you can do that with your kids. And I want to say, if they don't already do it, they should be able to just geofence around your rig and say, if the kid gets more than 100 feet away from my rig, it turns off or whatever.
So Ride Command's a super slick system that I think it's available on the premium and the ultimate models. It's a super slick touchscreen, works with your gloves. It's weather resistant, all the rest of that stuff. But you can pair it with other friends. You can see where your friend is at any time on the trail. I don't think you can send them messages, but you can see how fast they're going, which is hilarious and will never end in calamity.
Sounds dangerous.
But
that's
really awesome.
But there are hundreds and hundreds of pre-mapped trails on this thing. So when we went out to Windrock, most of the trails were already mapped on the rig, which honestly better than the Windrock app itself or carrying a paper map around. Makes for a great ride. Super cool stuff.
Yep. Very cool. You can record your rides too. One of my favorite features is, you start your day, you hit record. When you get back, you can upload it into, your mobile device or computer or whatever. And it makes this awesome little graphic. I've seen it all over YouTube. People will share their routes, and it traces the route. Like it shows the dot as it moves down the trail with elevation, speed, and all that fun stuff. All of that standard on your your XP Pro that you buy from Polaris right off the showroom floor.
Crazy that it's standard.
Yeah, I mean, the shock is how seamless it is. You know, like I think I expected it to be kind of a gimmick, and I expected it to be clunky and easy, bud, and not work super well, but it works great. I mean, truly flawless. So pretty cool.
My brother has a GPS, and I'm trying to find a picture of it, but it does basically the same thing on his Canon, but he had to buy it and install it.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
a bummer.
so
Yeah.
it's cool that stuff comes from the factory and build up the community.
Exactly.
I'm selfishly derailing us because Kansas has no public land. Like it's the worst. Like I think it's not less than 1%. It's like 0.9%. Like it's not the worst, but it's like bottom 3.
Sure.
Connecticut has nothing. We know, Russ. But Missouri's nearby. Okay. And the Ozarks are nearby.
Oh yeah.
Are there any trails down there? If I started to head down this path,
so many trails, bud.
My aunt and uncle live down in Springfield, Missouri. They've had side by side for years. And we are way past statute of limitations on this. It's like 10 years ago, 3 kids ago, at least.
That's how you measure time now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When you have 4, yeah, like there's a big span of time. But he had a Kubota and I think a John Deere. Like, and this was before Sport Rec was in anything. They were both utility. Like, and it was down at Table Rock Lake, and it was just trails in the woods, and it was the most fun I've ever had while also drinking. Because it's the Ozarks.
It's the Ozarks.
And there was a point in time where, and actually I hadn't had a drink yet, where both left side wheels had found something soft. And my cousin's husband was riding with me, and he was like, "Where are we going?" And I was like, "I'm not really sure right now." Like, as we started, I kind of turned out of it, and luckily it was in 4-wheel drive. We moved right up the hill. But like, is there a scene down there? Like, am I nuts?
No, you're not nuts. I think that's part of the conversation that we had with our guide down there in Kentucky. The West Virginia side is hyper vigilant about imbibing and riding because there's a long tradition of off-roading and drinking, right? And it's not just side by sides. It's
that's everybody.
It's everybody, and I'm gonna put my Debbie Downer hat on. Just don't do it, man.
I'm with you. I was much younger and very stupid.
Downer. It's like safety and basic common sense.
Yeah, it's easy to feel like, well, shit, man, I'm going 5 miles an hour here. Like, what could happen? Which is true right up until something happens.
You're slowing your reactions no matter what. Even at 5 miles an hour, you're still slowing down how you react to the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Alcohol, it's a serious handicap. It messes with you in ways that really aren't fair, because it messes with you and then gives you the confidence to think it's not messing with you, right? It's like this wicked double-edged sword,
Don't drink and drive, kids. Just don't
do it. Don't drink and operate machinery, whether it's a motorcycle text. or text. Well, yeah, definitely text. Don't. Just
if you guys ever come down to Windrock, there's a sorrowing entrance to the park. Every time you pretty much have to go up this entry road into the park, and there are crosses that litter the side of the road from folks that have just driven off the side of it and died.
Oh shit!
And there are new ones every year added to the thing, and
they're almost
that's an eye opener.
They're almost all alcohol related.
Yeah,
it's somebody drinking and going too fast and losing control.
Yeah, I mean, I forget the statistic, but it's something like 95% of ATV related injuries are either no helmet, alcohol, or both.
Yep. So, and like to be selfish for a minute, when those things happen, you're putting the whole hobby in danger. You're not just risking yourself. Every time somebody gets hurt, every time somebody gets killed because they were drinking and not paying attention, that's more scrutiny that comes down on the hobby every time. So, just don't do it, man. There's plenty of time back at the campsite for beers and screwing off. So,
and that's the best. That first beer when you get back after a kick-ass day of riding. Oh, that's the best.
That is the best.
Say Windrock's only 11 hours away.
buddy. I'm 100% serious. The invite is always open.
I have some free time right now, so
come ride, bud.
This dumb Montana trip's gonna take 10 days, though.
So
4 in the car.
Yeah, that's what we're up to right now. We
Ross and I were doing the math the other day on how to get from Reno to Connecticut.
God. It's 40 hours.
Boys.
even I was like, maybe I'll go to Reno and I'll get to Kansas City, and then you can jump the rest of the way. No, it's 23 hours for me to get from Reno to Kansas City.
Yeah, Reno's out there, bud.
It is so much further west than I thought it was going to be when I finally looked at the map.
I was going to apologize to Brad, but we definitely know Brad's not listening.
I already sent him an email apologizing. So no S6 for now.
No S6 for now.
What else we got going on, Kevin? We bolted a rooftop tent to our Talon.
I was about to say, Roof Nest was nice enough to send us one of their luxurious rooftop tents that folds out 4 different ways. We bolted it to the top of one of the Talons as a kind of a, can we do this? Flesh this idea out, and took it to Kentucky, and it worked great. Didn't even notice it was up there riding around
on the trails.
Yeah. It's super weird. Like, we all thought, oh, this is gonna be tough. It's gonna raise the center of gravity. It's gonna be hard to ride. It's gonna ruin the suspension. You're gonna notice it. You're not gonna, it'll be the last rig anybody reaches, for the keys. It's fine. You don't, other than the noise, you don't notice it.
The tent weighs 150 pounds, which is not nothing, but it's a lot less than they used to weigh. This one is the Condor XL, so it's almost a queen size mattress up top. It's got
it's like a 4-inch memory foam mattress, right, Zach?
Yeah.
Nice 3 or 4 inch actual bed.
It's got I've never been a big rooftop tent fan for a bunch of reasons. You're adding a bunch of weight in the worst possible place to your rig. Ruins fuel economy, makes a bunch of noise, all the rest of this stuff. That said, I have had this idea in my head since we started screwing with these things, UTVs. They take you to places that you can't easily get to in any other vehicle, and they do it quickly, right? Like, there's a trail at Windrock that we used to run 16 that would take all day. It would be a 5-6 hour run. We can do it in 1 hour in these rigs. Like, the suspension the suspension is that compliant. You can carry that much speed where you're just ripping along. You're carrying 15, 16 miles an hour everywhere. Whereas in a Land Cruiser, in a Jeep, in whatever, a 4Runner, you're doing 3 to 5 miles an hour, right?
Can I interject with a story real quick?
Sure.
So we took the 2 Talons out to compare, our upgraded Talon and our stock Talon, a couple weeks ago. We were at Windrock, and we had the venerable Mr. Thrasher with us.
Camden Thrasher, excellent photographer. If you don't follow him on Instagram, you very much should.
He does a lot of jet photography, like fighter jet photography. But anyway, I digress. We're at Windrock. It just so happens to be like a Land Cruiser meetup week, and they're just littering the trails everywhere. We're on 16, running the same trail we always run, and there's a hill that they have all stopped on, and they've all got their cameras out, and they're all like 3 or 4 of them are up at the top, like scoping out different ways to get up this rocky, craggly hill. And
to be fair, it is a proper obstacle. It's a mix of ruts and big rocks. I mean,
off camber
rocks that are, Jesus, I don't know. I mean, everything from like couch
baby heads
size to baby heads.
Yeah. So we pull up. They're all parked in the way. We wait for a couple of minutes, and they're like, hang on, we're going to scoot out of the way to let you guys go ahead. The generally Jeep and Land Cruiser and Toyota guys are very, very nice out on the trail because they understand UTVs can travel a little bit faster. Well, we scoot around them. I'm in the front of the line, and I take 30 seconds and hop up this entire hill. Every single one of those people their jaw is on the ground. They can't understand what just happened. And I was basically drinking water and eating my lunch while I did it. You make rock crawling so easy compared to, what we're used to. It's just insane.
Off-road cheat code.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
Konami codes of off-roading. But, knowing that, and knowing that there are a lot of places out west where you can go and disperse camp, I want a rig where we can load up a stove, load up some propane, load up a cooler, and have comfortable jerry can and have a comfortable place to sleep that is not on the ground. That sounds deeply appealing to me. That sounds like the best possible case in terms of overlanding. So
it's the closest to replicating your North Rim of the Grand Canyon story of camping in the middle of nowhere, listen to the wolves chase down elk.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot faster
and a lot more fun, so that was the whole idea behind it. And the other problem with these tents is they're crazy expensive. I think this one's like $3,200.
Dude, they're all nuts.
So
my God,
they're all nuts. But if you stop thinking about it as a tent and start thinking of it as a pop-up camper, would you rather have a pop-up camper off-road, or would you rather have a tent attached to your vehicle? Definitely the tent, right? Because who wants to screw with a trailer off-road? That sounds like proper nightmare territory.
Pain in the ass.
Okay, so that was literally a question I was headed towards. Is does anyone do a side-by-side style trailer?
Yes, it's called the Jake. Was it Teton Trailers or something?
I think so.
Builds a UTV specific, and it's a teeny tiny little micro trailer that is built to be towed behind a UTV off-road.
Huh.
Now Chris is interested in getting into the hobby.
So for whatever reason, I think off-road trailers are, because my Jeep days, I was like, that's just you're towing an anchor. What the hell are you doing? You're towing an anchor. But now with all the crap and kids and everything I need, I want to put all that crap back there. And modern powertrains are pretty good now. Okay, you said the Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, shop all trailers.
Here we go.
There's only two.
I know what I'm spending other people's money.
What I'm getting text about tomorrow.
But anyway, that was the whole idea behind putting it on the Talon. And the Talon, the 2-seater, it's got a pretty gnarly rake on the cage, so we had to space it up with a little bar, and we still had some rake there, so we leveled it out with just RV leveling blocks. I think we're working on getting a different rig that will be a 4-seater that'll have a level place to bolt the thing to, and it should be a little bit more secure. So
yeah. So for all of you social media folks out there who absolutely hated on us, it's not final form. It was just a proof of concept. We're working towards something bigger,
and we're stoked about it. I think it's going to be fun. So
I will use this opportunity to give a shout out to our boy Scott Newby at Yamaha. They just did a live event this evening and announced their Adventure Max model.
Adventure Max.
Which are overland specific.
RMX. Yeah.
Really cool. Still in the concept product testing stage. But essentially they took a couple RMAXs, an RMAX 2 and an RMAX 4, and turned them into long range overland rigs. The RMAX 4, they bolted on basically a pack mule system in the back. And then the RMAX 2 is just anything you can think of, rigid lights, skid plates, an upgraded Warren winch, whatever you would need to conquer the earth. They did it all with some really cool graphics. So super exciting. We were part of that live event, watched that go down, and can't wait to see what comes of that.
Where did
my question to them was, let's bolt the rooftop tent on top of one of those and see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're at this really fun inflection point with these things where their capability has exploded over the past 3 years, where the drivetrain is really impressive, the suspension is really impressive, the brakes are really impressive, and suddenly people are realizing these are more than just toys, right? They can take you really interesting places. They can do a lot more than they used to be able to do. And it's going to be really fun watching people use these things in ways that you used to have to rely on a 4Runner or a Jeep for,
But the range, they have way more range than I thought they would.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
I mean,
even that thing that Ross rode last week, like
I got 110 miles to a tank, and I was not being kind to it.
I'm sure. I mean, we have yet to run a rig dry anywhere outside of Portsmouth Island, which was just in deep sand for 8 hours a day, you know? So they're very impressive machines. And it's easy to dismiss them as like, well, it's a cool lifted go-kart you got there, bud. But no, they're very impressive.
I think the goal, at least for me in the UTV space, is to try to get us all out to like one of the backcountry discovery routes and run something like that with, you know, rooftop tents and, you know, a collection of the side-by-sides and, you know, have that kind of fun. Cause that's the perfect end goal for this application for the, you know, not the super high speed ones and not the super, you know, work geared ones, something in the middle that can do a little bit of everything and be self-sufficient too.
Have a big bed for all your gear and food and clothes and all the rest of that stuff. So,
I mean, if I have to ask somebody to borrow a trailer, I mean,
exactly, we might be able to make that happen.
There you go. There you go.
I like sleeping inside.
Same.
Done enough tenting. I'm over it.
So, all right, guys. Well, I need to wrap things up. I'm as you guys are also East Coast time, but I'm up super early tomorrow.
I didn't realize what time it was.
Late o'clock. Guys. All good.
I'll wrap up because I said I'll wrap up and didn't have the note sheets in front of me where I cheat and look at stuff. So you can rate and review our show on iTunes. Still exists. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. This might be one of the better shows to watch on YouTube. I looked at our analytics the other day, Ross. They're kind of hilarious for YouTube.
Later.
Yeah, definitely. Zach is at Another Bow, Instagram and Twitter, right?
That's me.
Kevan is at Kevan Ray. It's KevanRay.
Bingo.
There's a UTV Driver podcast.
There is.
How is that? Why you guys sound amazing tonight?
It is.
That is correct.
You both came on. I was like, holy shit.
Boy, did we spend a lot of company money recently. It's been great.
Look at us doing things.
You have some cheap recommendations. Let Ross and I know. We're always searching for a little better sound.
Seriously.
Okay. I might have to download that and listen to it. I've got some time in the car coming up.
Two's out. When's 2 out? Tomorrow?
Yeah, 2's coming out tomorrow.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You can follow Hooniverse, the Hooniverse, the real Hooniverse. You can read what we write. Hooniverse, Car Bibles, The Drive, ATV Rider, UTV Driver. I get them all.
That's it.
That's
you got it.
Yes.
Ross is at No Not Like the One from Friends. I'm at Overlanding Dad. I can always tell when an episode goes up because either I or the podcast Instagram gets like 1 or 2 followers every Wednesday.
That's how it works, bud.
Slow and steady.
So depressing. To get to any real numbers, it's going to be like 17 years.
But think of the excellent catalog that new user is going to have. 17 years of podcast.
Dude, this is episode like 78, I think. Like it's not.
Wow. Congratulations to you guys.
We've been around for a hot minute.
We have. We crossed 10K too. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys.
The little milestones.
78.
That counts, bud.
Yeah, that's it. That's the show. We did it.
That's it.
Awesome. Right. Well, thanks guys. I'm gonna hit the hay here. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having us on, dudes.